Hey guys, how's it going? It is July 27th, 2019 at 3:03 p.m. This is my fourth take trying to do this video. Yeah. So I hope I don't screw up this time. I'm having trouble talking. Gotta make up my mind here mostly. Now, Post to Post and Hands Down Hockey did a video like this, like talking about what NHL teams have what NHL teams are rivals against other teams, and yeah. I'm giving all hockey channels a huge shout out. Post to Post, Hands Down Hockey, The Hockey Guy, Gravity, and Andrew Pollock. Give that guys a sub. They're awesome people. So yeah. Start off with Anaheim, shall we? Like what NHL teams have the biggest rivals against each other. And I got my poster right there, so that's why I'm not looking at the camera. Anaheim's biggest rivals are Los Angeles, San Jose, Arizona, and Vegas. Arizona's biggest rivals are Vegas, since they're both in the desert, like Battle of the Desert. I don't like hockey in the desert, but I forgot to say about Anaheim. Like, obviously Los Angeles and San Jose, because all three of them are in California, and yeah. Boston, Montreal, Toronto, Buffalo, and Tampa Bay. Buffalo's biggest rivals are Toronto, since they're both Buffalo and Toronto are kind of close to each other, Ottawa, and Boston. Calgary's biggest rivals are Edmonton, obviously because Battle of Alberta. Sorry, I tried to burp. I feel. Oh, don't you hate that? Yeah, like Edmonton, because Calgary and Edmonton are in Alberta, and that's like one of the most popular hockey teams to watch in the 80s, in my opinion. And Vancouver too, since all Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary in the Pacific Division. Yes, I would say they're kind of rivals with Winnipeg too, since I know it's not the 80s or 90s anymore, or 70s, but they kind of had rivals with them too. All Canadian teams, so yeah. Carolina's biggest rivals are I would say Pittsburgh, Columbus, and New Jersey. I don't know, I'm picking randomly, I'm sorry. And Philly. And Washington. Chicago's biggest rivals, I say, are Nashville, St. Louis, and Dallas. Colorado's biggest rivals are Minnesota, Winnipeg, and Nashville, and Dallas. Columbus' biggest rivals, I say, are Pittsburgh, like Crosby and Dubinsky, kind of, you know what I mean. Yeah, Pittsburgh, the New York teams, Washington, and Philadelphia, and maybe Carolina. Dallas's biggest rivals, I say, are Colorado, Chicago, St. Louis, and Nashville. Detroit's biggest rivals are Tampa Bay, Toronto, Montreal, and Boston. Edmonton's biggest rivals are obviously Calgary and Vancouver. Calgary, like I said before, Calgary and Edmonton are both in Alberta. And I would say that they're rivals with Winnipeg too, somewhat. Like I said before about the Flames, like back in the 80s, 70s, 90s. Yeah. All Canadian, Western Canadian teams, so yeah. Florida. Biggest rivals are Tampa Bay, Buffalo, and Ottawa. Los Angeles' biggest rivals are Anaheim, since they're both close to each other. Anaheim is not far from Los Angeles. I should have said before about Anaheim, but yeah. And San Jose, Arizona, Vegas, and Calgary. The reason why I say Calgary is because they're about Doughty and Kachuk always get into it with each other. So yeah. Minnesota, I would say Winnipeg, since the closest Other NHL city is Minnesota, like St. Paul. Yeah. And I would say Chicago, St. Louis, and Colorado. I'll say Colorado and St. Louis and Dallas. Dallas because remember the old Minnesota North Stars? They moved to Dallas in the late '90s, and the Wild got their team back. The Minnesota got their team back in early 2000s. Not the North Stars, but the Wild, and yeah, so it's like Minnesota 1.0 versus 2.0. So yeah, Montreal's biggest rivals are Toronto, Ottawa, Boston, and Tampa Bay. I wish Quebec City, the Nordiques, were still in the league, because I would obviously put them in there. Nashville's biggest rivals are Winnipeg, obviously because go back to the playoffs last year. There's like a lot of like fights and roughness, and especially that game back in October. It feels like every Jets Predators game is gonna be a good game. It's like a must-watch game for the past few years. It has been. Chicago, St. Louis, Dallas, and yeah, New Jersey's biggest rivals are the New York teams, obviously because Newark is not far from New York City, that far at least. Because that's where the Devils play, New Jersey, Newark. Yeah. And Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Columbus and Carolina somewhat, yeah. And you can squeeze Washington there too. I don't know. New York Islanders, I say their biggest rivals are obviously the Rangers, since they're both in New York City. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Washington, and New Jersey. And Toronto too, so it's like what happened to... We all remember what happened in 2018 when Tavares left for Toronto. Yeah. I would say them too because New York City is the biggest city in America, and Toronto is the biggest city in Canada. Sorry, I have to burp. So yeah, New York Rangers, same thing. Islanders, their biggest rivals are the Islanders, Penguins, Capitals, and Flyers and Devils. So yeah. And Toronto too, like I said before. Larger cities, yeah. Ottawa's biggest rivals are Toronto, Battle of Ontario. Montreal, Buffalo, and Boston. Philadelphia's biggest rivals are Pittsburgh, obviously, Battle of Pennsylvania. The New York teams, and New Jersey, and Washington. San Jose, their biggest rivals are Anaheim and Los Angeles and Vegas and Arizona. Yeah, like I said before, California, and what happened this year from the playoffs. Yeah. St. Louis's biggest rivals are Chicago, Nashville, Minnesota, and Winnipeg, and yeah. Tampa Bay's biggest rivals are Florida, so it's Tampa Bay and Miami are both of Florida, because that's where the Panthers play, Miami, or Sunrise, where Sunrise is part of Miami, I think. Yeah. What else? I would say Boston, maybe Toronto, Montreal, I don't know. Yeah, I would say them. Toronto's biggest rivals are Ottawa, like I said before, Battle of Ontario, Montreal, Boston, Buffalo, and Tampa Bay. Vancouver's biggest rivals are Calgary and Edmonton. And, yeah, and some of Winnipeg, too, like I said before, 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah, and they can still be rivals to this day, too, maybe. Even though they only see each other, like, I'll get that later on. Vegas' biggest rivalries are Arizona, like I said before, like, both teams are in the desert. Los Angeles, Anaheim, and San Jose. So, yeah. Washington's biggest rivals are Pittsburgh, like, obviously Crosby versus Ovechkin. Yeah. Philadelphia, the New York teams, and I guess I could have a rival somewhere with Carolina too. It just happened this past this past postseason. So yeah. Winnipeg. Oh, my favorite team. What's Winnipeg's biggest rivalries? I would say Minnesota, since, like I said before about Minnesota, Winnipeg and St. Paul aren't that far from each other. Nashville, like I said before, like all the craziness that's been happening. St. Louis, and yeah, I feel like they've been rivals with St. Louis for like a little bit now too. I don't know why, it's a good matchup, and maybe Colorado and everyone in the division. I don't know why, I just do for some reason. I don't know why. And obviously Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver, somewhat too. You could squeeze that in there too. Even though the Jets only see them like 3 times a year, like twice in Calgary, once in Winnipeg, or once in Calgary, twice in Winnipeg, or once in Vancouver, twice in Winnipeg, or twice in Vancouver, once in Winnipeg, or twice in Edmonton, once in Winnipeg, or once in Edmonton, once in Winnipeg. But yeah. Hey, what's Seattle's could be biggest rivalry? I would say Vancouver, since Seattle's not far from Vancouver. Yeah. I know this hasn't been the best video, but yeah. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you don't like it, that's too bad. Just move on to another video. Don't bother commenting negative stuff, and yeah. I don't know, I just felt like making this video. It's not the best, I know, but if you have any rant suggestions and for me, leave me know in the comments, and follow me on Instagram if you want, and yeah. Have a good rest of the day, everybody.